If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please remember to hit that like button. It really does help me out a lot. And of course, subscribe for more FIFA 22 content, Road to Glory, player reviews, you name it, we've got it. If you do need any coins, head over to u7buystore.com. Use the code TVM at checkout for a discount. The link is in the description. What is going on, guys? Tim here. Welcome back to a brand new player review. Today we're going to talk about a fairly expensive player. I've done a couple of cheapies. Now we are going to start getting into some of the more expensive players, starting with Dembele. I just needed the coins, of course, because I am running a Road to Glory this year. Obviously, I'm going to need the coins on it. So a little bit of trading here or there, match coins and so on. This card was actually packed, so spoiler alert, if you haven't already seen it, it is now completely ruined for you. I do apologise. But 83 rated, goes for about 50,000 coins as I'm recording this. May have gone up, may have gone down by now, don't know. Dembele every year is one of those cards that goes for a lot of money because he fits the beginning of the game so well. Doesn't matter what type of gameplay it is, whether you need pace, whether you don't need pace. He has 5-star skills, 5-star weak foot, always good at dribbling, good on the ball. And yes, he does have pace and agility, which of course, in any FIFA, whether you need it or not, is always an advantage. Now, doesn't mean he's necessarily going to be very good. Stats-wise, there are a few things that concern me. I think reactions this year going to be very, very important, more so than any other FIFA that I think we've ever played. Haven't actually tested this yet, but in theory, with how long it takes players, or can take players, I should say, to react to what you're telling them to do. And it's not a delay. There's no delay in the game. It's not an internet thing. It's just the individual player, in my opinion anyway, taking too long to make the decision that you've already made for it. So I press pass. There's that split second where it just doesn't, sometimes it just doesn't do anything. It's really frustrating. And with 78 reactions, unfortunately, before we get into the actual whether it was a problem or not, I looked at it and I thought that's not a good stat. I have used players with much higher, I say much higher, maybe 5 or 6 points higher on reactions, and still had that problem. Maybe not so much with players who have got 60, 70 reactions, but still, I knew full well I was going to have a problem with it. This was the team I used. I am a big fan of 1 or 2 of those cards in there, like massive fan. That's so underrated. Very, very cheap cards. 2 of them are actually on the same side, the left-hand side. We'll talk more about that in the Road to Glory if you're interested. I may or may not do some individual play reviews on them. Have to wait and see. In terms of the gameplay, in the first game I played with him, he actually did quite well. Not that I'm surprised by that at all. For 50,000 coins, he should be doing quite well. Of course, the first goal that he scored was essentially given to him on a plate. It would have been harder to miss than it would have been to actually put it in the back of the net. His dribbling, as you would imagine, nice, close control. Get a bit of luck here or there with certain players, and I think Dembele is one of those at the beginning of the game against lesser defenders that will be able to get away with a lot more. As the game progresses, when defenders get better, special items come out and so on and so forth, you'll notice quite quickly, I would imagine, that this card will drop off against better defenders. Whether you can use fullbacks as centre-backs anymore is anybody's guess. I honestly couldn't tell you whether it's as successful as it has been. I haven't played against, or maybe one. I've played about 30 games so far, and I've only really played against one that I can remember who was actually playing a fullback at centre-back. Was it a problem? For him, not really, I don't think, but I'd be interested if you guys actually know whether you've played the game yourself, of course, if you have, whether you've tried to play a fullback at centre-back. Does it actually affect it as much as it used to? If it doesn't, then this is a card that's going to come unstuck quite quickly, because even though he's quite quick and he's got the dribbling ability, really good weak foot, you can break through the middle with him quite well, he does suffer quite considerably actually in front of goal. Sometimes he'll bury it, and you've seen a few goals from him already that probably take you, not necessarily by surprise, but the goalkeepers this year are very, very good in certain areas. Not necessarily from crazy distance like this. I mean, 9 times out of 10 that goes in. If you time it right, that goes in. But from close range, they are very good. Dembele suffers from composure issues. and quite potentially just standard finishing issues. He has 75 finishing. So I would say his finishing consistency is the con, not necessarily the finishing stat, because he does score goals. It's not that, you know, he's completely barren in front of goal. He does score them. It's just not as consistent as I would like a 50,000 coin card to be. Now, of course, at this stage of the game, 50,000 coins is a lot of money. In a week, in 2 weeks, in a month, in 2 months, it may not be that much at all. And this card obviously won't be that at all. It'll crash down to about 25, 30. But either way, at the moment, at the time of filming, 25th of September, I don't think this is good value for coins. And overall, I actually would say no, not to buy him. I think 50k could be spent better elsewhere. In fact, I would even argue that you could go and get a really cheapy, you know, 1,000, 2,000 coin player and just put up with it for now until you get a couple more, or we get a couple more Team of the Weeks under our belt, maybe even the first promo comes out. I know a lot of people are going to be saying, well, you know, the pros have said that this card is good, what do you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know, I'm not as good as a pro. Nowhere near as good as a pro. Don't claim to be. But I am an average player, or maybe slightly above average, possibly. Depends who you ask and what day you catch me on. And I'm saying that I don't like him. I don't necessarily feel like he's that good in any area. Yeah, very good ball control, sure, and his dribbling isn't necessarily bad. It's fine. His reactions let him down. His composure in front of goal annoys me, and he just can't seem to finish consistently. And it's just the amount of coins as well. If this card was 5k, not a problem. He'd actually be very good for 5k, be very good for 10k, but for 50,000 coins, I honestly would much rather put my money into Jack Grealish. And I know a lot of people are going to turn their nose up at that, and that's fine. But the players that I mentioned at the very beginning of the game that I said I'd talk about in the Road to Glory, obviously I will, but Jack Grealish is insanely good for 5,000 coins, or whatever it is he costs. I'm actually a fairly big fan of Jack Grealish in real life. I think he's a decent little player, but in FIFA, he is, in my opinion, doesn't have the same characteristic and attributes, of course, as Dembele does. Doesn't have the pace and so on. But he is just so much more accomplished on the ball and makes far less mistakes, in my opinion. For 5 to 50,000 coins, it's an absolute no-brainer that if you were going to go for one over the other, it would be someone like Jack Grealish, who's just accomplished on the ball. Not to say that if you've packed him untradeable, you shouldn't be using him, because he's not a bad card. I just don't think he's worth that massive price tag that he has right now. Some decent attributes in there, but I don't think it's going to last. Let me know what you think of this card in the comments section down below. If you have enjoyed this player review, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and until the next time, goodbye.